What's happening, people? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to another pre-match preview with your boy CJ from the Gunners Corner. Um, Now, I know I've been away, sorry, I should say, for the last week or so, almost a week. So I didn't get to do the pre-match preview or post-game player ratings for Arsenal versus Chelsea. And obviously, the likes of Murdad and Laurent. They were able to do pre-match previews or their own pre-match previews respectively for that Arsenal v Chelsea game. Um, so you guys did get a glimpse of some of the content that's been going out on the channel, whether it's from Murdad, like I said, with his pre-match preview, or Laurent with his pre-match preview for Arsenal versus Chelsea, and then a couple other bits of content that the guys have been putting out. They did their own pre-match, podcast episode last Thursday. I was away in Tampa Bay for a few days, so I wasn't able to partake in that last episode. But if you didn't catch that, go check it out. Obviously, also go check out the recording that we just did post Arsenal versus Chelsea after our Arsenal's 2-1 victory over Chelsea. The three of us got together and did our usual, um, recording. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, the content is coming thick and fast as the games are coming thick and fast as the season is starting to wind down, um, slowly but surely. So, all types of content is coming out. Obviously, since I was last on here, we have heard of the draw for the Champions League and how the brackets look. And so I believe also Murdad put some content on the channel, just sort of reflecting on that. So, you know, continue to be with us, continue to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Lots going out, a lot's going to be coming your way. Um, but as I mentioned, without further ado, as I always say, this pre-match preview is for Brighton versus Arsenal. As I said, the games are coming thick and fast. We just played Chelsea, still trying to ride the wave and ride the high of that victory, which was a very good victory over Chelsea. But now we got to kind of brush that off and get ready for Brighton. Um, and make no mistake about it, this is going to be a very tough game at the Amex Stadium at their ground. Um, so, the nerves will start to kick in for that, because as I mentioned, um, every game now is a cup final. We're now down to single digits in terms of Arsenal and remaining fixtures in the Premier League. 9 games left. And so, that it's 9 cup finals in the Premier League left until, we hopefully get to glory and win our first Premier League since 2004. Um, and it needs to be done, at this stage. We're in such a commanding position. We're in a good position in the league, albeit despite the fact that we are being chased by, that Man City side that's haunted us over the years. Um, we still need to go out and do our job because it's time. It's time. It's got to be our time. It's got to be our year. Um, really, really and truly, it's as simple as that, man. There's no excuses. It's an exciting time. It's a good place to be in. We wanted to be in this position for a very long time, but it's about now going over and getting over the line and getting the job done and taking out the games one game at a time. Another one tomorrow. We just got to get through that 90 minutes. And then we have a bit of a break. It's FA Cup on the weekend. And then it's next week, midweek. Champions League is back as we play Bayer Leverkusen away from home in that first leg. So games are coming thick and fast. But yeah, like I said, after this one, we have one domestic cup game in the FA Cup against Mansfield on the weekend, and then Champions League next week. So this is our last Premier League game for just over a week. Um, and we move, and we keep it moving. So it's very important that we get the 3 points in this one, and I believe after the Wolves sort of draw that we had immediately after Wolves, which was a disappointing result, by the way, the 2-2 draw against Wolves. Seems like so long ago now, but there's always going to be 3 tough fixtures that followed that Wolves game. Um, and it was going to obviously Spurs away, Chelsea and Brighton away. And the question on everybody's lips was how was Arsenal going to respond after that disappointing Wolves draw? Because these 3 games that were, supposed to be coming up in Spurs, Chelsea, and Brighton, this is meant to be, a tough run of fixtures for Arsenal to navigate to see if we're still going to be in a commanding position after it's said and done. And 2 out of 3 so far, job done, right? Beat our North London rivals and beat Chelsea, um, another London rival. And this is the third of the 3 tricky games, tricky run of 3 games that we have to navigate. And this one's going to be just as difficult, I think, as Chelsea, in my opinion, to be honest with you. If we get through this, that's 9 points from that last three from that tricky run. It's another game ticked off, and then the run looks a little bit better for us after that. So, it's just about navigating and getting through this one by hook or by crook. Um, there's a common sort of conversation at the moment about what's more important at this stage, results or performances. And surely the results is the most important thing. Because if we win the Premier League in May, are we really going to look back on and say, that game in particular against Brighton, we didn't play well, or, you know, we have the Premier League crown to our name. It's there for us, 2026, Arsenal as champions. Who's really going to care at this stage how we got it done? We've been asking. Thierry Henry has said this a while back. We've been asking Arteta to get the job done and get over the line. Don't care how you do it, just do it at this point. We're 4 title races in. 3 of them prior to this season, we've come up short. By hook or by crook, you got to get it done. Again, Chelsea's teams 04, 05 under the special one, Jose Mourinho. They played boring, kind of conservative football, defensive football wasn't the greatest to watch. But again, when you look back in history books, 04, 05, who has the Champions League crown to the name? Chelsea. That's all that really matters for in the grand scheme of things. So listen, tomorrow, just get the job done. It's going to be another tricky, difficult game. Brighton's going to come out hard and strong at home. Um, and so we're gonna need to take care of business properly, manage that game properly. Um, it's as simple as that. Just get the 3 points and get out of there. Um, with regards to team news, I mean, Arteta's obviously had his press conference, and a couple interesting things. I mean, a couple positive things, right? Um, is positive, I would say, is the fact that he did mention that um, Kai Havertz, he was questioned on Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard. So um, let's just get some couple quotes here. So on Kai Havertz, um, Arteta said, and I quote, "He's done a part of the session, so we will have to wait and see whether he's available and in which condition." So he did train, it looks like, and he played a couple of minutes. He had some minutes in the match day squad against Chelsea, and some minutes off the bench. So I guess they're still trying to manage him at the moment and his minutes and his fitness levels. So let's see if he's in the squad for tomorrow. I hope so, at least off the bench. That would be ideal. Um, Now the big one is on Declan Rice. Now he said this was a little bit more positive on Decker's. Um, let's see, if we get the quotes here. So basically, Arteta said, "I hope," and when the question was asked if Declan Rice is available, he said, "I hope he was much better today." Obviously, we haven't trained really because we only have 2 days to prepare for the game, so hopefully it's going to be better tomorrow. So he sounds hopeful that Rice should be available, which is a massive bonus for us as well, obviously. Again, questions are, do we stick or twist in terms of, do you play Declan Rice or do you rest him? I'm of the opinion, again, this is an early indication and hint into my predicted 11, but I'm of the opinion that this is a Premier League game. This isn't, with all due respect, a cup game, a domestic cup game like FA Cup or Carabao Cup against League One opposition. This is Brighton in the Premier League. This is a competition, being the Premier League, that we haven't won in over 20 years. We need to finally get over the line. Declan Rice, let's be honest, has been one of our best players, one of our most important players this season. If he's out of the team, we're in big trouble. I also don't feel we have an adequate backup replacement for him. So he's fit. He needs to play. It's as simple as that. He drives us on. He pushes us forward. Some would say he's a talismanic figure in our team. We need him. And I wouldn't gamble on this 3 points. The jeopardy of what's on the line in this game, even a draw, you know, where I think we're struggling. The draw, to be honest with you, I think we need the 3 points. You know, um, Man City play Forest at home. I expect them to wipe the floor with Forest, get a quick 3 points there. So I don't think we can afford to take any risks in the Premier League, man. This is our bread and butter. This is what we need to win. This is what we're dying for and we're craving. We can't take any gambles with our best players. We're at that stage where your best players got to play. 9 cup finals left. Declan Rice has got to play. So if he's fit, that's the case, right? If he's not fit, And then, that's more so, the medical team have to properly assess where his fitness levels are at. Is he 80% fit, 70, 60, whatever. So, yeah, if he's fit, he plays for me. There's nothing about rest as far as I'm concerned with Rice. You can rest against Mansfield. Don't even travel when we play Mansfield in the FA Cup on the weekend. Don't even bother traveling. Just rest him for that. So if he's fit, fully fit, he plays for me tomorrow, Declan Rice. No questions asked. But again, yeah, Arteta sounds hopeful that he can be available and that he will be available, which is great news, obviously. If he is fine and good to go. Um, so kind of like one of those things where Teta typically says, let's see how it is tomorrow and not giving too much away. But he said he's hopeful and that Rice was much better today, so that's a positive. Um, on Odegaard. So Arteta's update on him was a little bit interesting. He said we have to wait and see how comfortable he is to do certain actions. Um, he is pushing to be involved in the squad, but um, that's sort of it seems like another touch and go one with Odegaard. Wait and see. Um, Odegaard at the moment is a strange one. What's happening with him? To be honest with you, picking up all these little niggling injuries. He hasn't had the greatest of seasons. He's been interrupted by these injuries, and it's affected his form. Looks light. Doesn't look strong on the ball. Um, doesn't look strong off the ball either. Getting, like I said, bullied and these impact injuries, these the physicality of these games are catching up to him, and he's picking up injuries as a result of it. And I think he still looks like struggling from that injury that he picked up at Brentford away. So it's not looking good for Odegaard at the moment, and it's really a strange situation I feel like for him. Also, like there's rumors and rumblings about him having a falling out with Arteta, and potentially could be looking both parties could be looking to part ways in the summer. I don't know how true all that is, but I think what's happening with Odegaard at the moment is really strange. But he's definitely not having the best of seasons overall. He's having quite an unfortunate season, let's put it that way. Um, so I don't know, but either way, he wouldn't be in my starting 11 anyways because he doesn't deserve the shirt at the moment, right? That's one area where we do have a little bit of depth. So yeah, no. With Odegaard, if he's fitting in the squad, great, but he definitely doesn't start this one for me, regardless. Ben White is out apparently, which is unfortunate. What's going on with him too is interesting. He's also picking up a lot of little niggling injuries, muscular injuries. He just simply doesn't seem to have the same fitness level that he did a couple seasons ago, and it's a shame because some would say the manager didn't manage him properly and he'd run him into the ground a bit. Ben White, Ben White's been picking up injuries um, ever since the last season and going into this season. He obviously had to do some operation to recover from, I think, what was a longer lasting, was it a knee injury or a muscular injury? But yeah, from the start of the very last campaign, up until this point, Ben White has been in and out of the team, been in and out of the treatment room, really, which is a shame because again, like I said, from the time he was bought in a few years ago, might have been 2021. He's been a mainstay in the team for about two years or so after that, 2, 3 seasons after that. But again, I think he was run into the ground at some point by Arteta. He was playing week in, week out a couple seasons ago, and now he just looks like, it's caught up to him, which is really a shame, man, because he's a good player. But he looks like he's not going to be available. And then just lastly, a couple of things. He did say David Raya is fine. Maybe there's concerns about him after the Chelsea game, but David Raya is fine, and Max Dowman is also fit, which is good because we need as much players as possible. So good news. I think it's very positive news overall, especially on the Declan Rice front. Obviously, there's a couple of misfortunes or uncertainties with the likes of Odegaard, and obviously Ben White is out, but overall, it doesn't seem too bad. I hope there's nothing last minute that happens where guys drop out of the squad on match day. Um, but overall, it seems to be positive. It seems to be positive. So let's go. Let's go. Let's get. You know what? Let's do it. Let's get predicting the starting 11 and what we think is going to happen for this game. I mean, David Raya in goal. And I hesitated for a second because I'm kind of torn between kind of just saying, hey, same 11 as the last two games, right, where we won both games against Spurs and Chelsea? Is it just, as you were and put out the same team, keep a winning team? Um, I'm torn between that and saying, oh, well, is it time to rest certain areas? Obviously not Declan Rice, that's the last player I'd rest, but is there a case to bring in a couple other players who are looking a little bit tired? Um, but we'll still dive straight into it. David Raya in goal. I think that's the one that doesn't change for me at all. Yuri and Timber at right back. Now, due to Ben White's fitness levels, um, I think obviously he can't come in for this one. Um, so Yuri and Timber has to start. I mean, you could bring in Mascara, but you also have to look at the opposition, right? We're playing Brighton's left winger, assuming he's fit and sharp, is Matoma, and Matoma's caused Ben White troubles in the past, and could be a little bit of a mismatch with Mascara. I mean, I do trust him, right? Obviously, like he's been a solid defender for us since he's come in, Mascara, but how does he do? He's a center back naturally by trade. Putting him out wide against a smaller, trickier, tidy, quick winger in Matoma could be a little bit of trouble. At least, Timber maybe first of all, we know Timber's a great one-on-one defender. Um, and he's a little bit more agile and maybe mobile, a little bit more low center of gravity to deal with the trickery and the sharpness and the pace of a Matoma. So I think you got to keep Timber in there. Maybe if he needs to come off, after a certain amount of time, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, whatever, you can look at that. But certainly to start the game, maybe not maybe you definitely keep Timber, in my opinion, and I think Arteta will do the same. Center backs stay the same. Saliba, Gabriel, no problems there. Assuming and hoping that they're both fit and there's no last minute drop-offs. Both those guys can be rotated out potentially on the weekend when we play in the FA Cup. But those guys are our foundation, and they start in this game for me as well. And I think the manager will do the same. Hincapié starts at left back for me. Was unfortunate with the own goal on the weekend against Chelsea, but I think overall had a good game outside of that. And he's in a good run of form at the moment, Hincapié, to be honest with you. And I think, he should be part of that back line. He should be, a mainstay in the back line at the moment. And essentially, bottom line is you don't change that back four, back five. We've won our last two games, so we're on a good run. And yeah, I mean, at this stage in the season, you want defenders and a back line that you can rely on and trust and has the chemistry. And so far, Hincapié is doing well there. Keep the shirt. Keep the shirt. He looks more competent at the moment than Calafiori, who's been a little bit unreliable with injury lately. And then when he's come back, he's looked a bit rusty. So keeping Hincapié in there. Midfield. I already said Declan Rice is a starter for me if he's fit, and I'm assuming and hoping that he's fit, so he's in there, I think, automatically. Now it's who's beside him. Now Zubimendi, again, that was one of the ones where there's a question mark. Do you rotate him out and put in a Norgard? Because I think Arteta was also questioned on Zubimendi in the presser and questioned about his minutes and the concerns about the amount of minutes that Zubimendi's playing, especially considering it's his first season in the league. I think Arteta kind of shut it down a little bit, beat around the bush by saying, obviously that he's done well considering it's his first season and he tried to pour cold water maybe on any concerns that he's being overplayed. But um, yeah, I think this is one that does have a question mark around it too, like Timber and like Rice, where it's like, damn, these players have been playing a little bit too much, too many minutes, some would say, over the course of the campaign thus far. And where's the rest and the break going to come from? And the turnaround is so quick between Chelsea and Brighton. You know, for a guy who's already been playing heavy minutes, do you give him a rest in this one because he has looked a bit leggy. However, I'm I think you got to play him. Like I said, he's another one that rests on the weekend for me against Mansfield in the FA Cup. And then after tomorrow, just give me 90 minutes if you can, give me whatever you can tomorrow, and then you have the whole week's rest, and I'll bring you back in for the Champions League next week, midweek. Um, let's see. I mean, but certainly Norgard looks like either way he'll have to come off the bench in this one, whether it's for Rice, if Rice is struggling, or Zubimendi. I don't think that both of those will be able to go 90 minutes tomorrow if they're both fit and available. Norgard will might have to play a part, or see whatever else we can do in there. But yeah, I'll be surprised if you get 90 minutes even out of Zubimendi tomorrow if he looks, as leggy as he has been over the last couple of games. So, but he definitely starts this one for me because again, you need to keep that winning team. You're tried and trusted. He's played up to this point in the Premier League almost every game, if not every game, and um, you've trusted him this far, and we're in the closing stages, and we need our closers to close out. It's as simple as that. So I think Zubimendi should hold the shirt, and will likely hold the shirt to start at least to see what we can get out of him to help us get over the line in this game. In front of him, in front of both Rice and Zubimendi, um, or I guess to complete that midfield trio. Eze, I think you keep Eze in there, give him another run. Obviously, he didn't have the greatest game against Chelsea, but I know he doesn't deserve to be dropped after that. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't great either. But again, the game prior, great performance against Spurs. Um, don't keep doing one in, one out with Eze. One game you put him in, one game you put him out. Give him this run, um, trust him tomorrow against Brighton. It's you know Brighton fans are probably going to be booing him because of his affiliations with Crystal Palace. So, that could motivate him similar like to Spurs, right? Where you're playing a rival, um, you know, a team that, hates, maybe hating on you a bit, going to give you some stick in the ground. So, um, that may motivate him. And yeah, I think he needs to have a better performance than he did against Chelsea, that's for sure. But give him the start, why not? Show some faith in him. He's a big game player that we brought in for these moments and for big money. So, especially with concerns around Odegaard and the fitness levels of Kai Havertz, you play as a from the start. No problem with that. On the right, Bukayo Saka. Again, another player. Could you rest him? But the importance of the game, the jeopardy on it, he's got to start. Bukayo Saka. I'm sorry, he's got to start. Bring him off, give him a rest on the weekend and bring in Madueke on the weekend. That's what I'd be looking to do. But for this game, I think it's a no-brainer. He's on big wages now. He's our star man. You play him. You play Bukayo Saka in this game from the start for me. Off the left, you know, um, there were question marks about Trossard having a poor game and being in a poor run of form. Well, poor game against Chelsea, and then prior to that, just a poor run of form generally. But our options at the moment out there are not great. Definitely, we're gonna have to look to upgrade the left wing in the summer. But for here and now, keep Trossard in because again, I don't trust Martinelli off from the start. You can bring Martinelli off the bench, depending on game state, and he's a good impact player off the bench. But Martinelli from the start, I'm over that experiment. Um, Again, due to the importance of the game, the jeopardy on it. Um, yeah, again, Trossard hasn't been in the best run of form lately, but it's the best of a mediocre bunch like where we have to choose from. It's slim pickings. So again, another player who could be highly motivated due to the fact that Brighton was his former club and they'll be booing him and giving him some stick. So um, Trossard does tend to enjoy those sort of moments sometimes. Um, so hopefully that would motivate him. But yeah, I think Trossard from the start, and then up top, Victor Gyökeres, similar to Eze, another player that you show faith in. Give him a good run of games. Don't bring him in and bring him out. He played well against Spurs. Obviously, got his goals. Not so much against Chelsea, but doesn't mean you drop him. Keep him in, give him another run, see what he can do. Also played in Brighton's uh well, he did play for the club. I don't think he got too many minutes in his earlier on in his career, but I think he could be motivated by that as well, being a Brighton player previously that wasn't probably maybe given a proper chance or wasn't given a good run. So maybe he has something to prove there as well. But yeah, you keep him in and give him a run. Our record with Gyökeres in the team is better than what it is without, even in terms of goals conceded versus not. So yeah, you keep Gyökeres in there. Again, I haven't been highly impressed by Jesus when he's gotten the start in recent games, whether it be Sunderland at home or Man United at home. Jesus has been, they're more or less pissing me off, to be honest with you. I'd be looking to move him on in the summer, Jesus. Thank you for your services, but at the most, you can come off the bench right now, but in the Premier League right now, yeah, no, Yoker is a starting up top for me. And so as you can see, that's a more or less an unchanged side that I've named there. Um, because again, don't change a winning team. Give a lot of these guys a break after this game because we do have a gap, between tomorrow, which is when the game is, and our next Premier League game. Or like yeah, this weekend is the FA Cup, so we have a full week's rest when you play Champions League midweek next week. Basically, for some of those key guys, you can give them a full week's rest, give them some time off. Um, Rotate the squad heavily against Mansfield in the FA Cup on the weekend. And yeah, just get the best out of this group tomorrow and tell them to give everything and see what they got in the tank. Because again, Premier League, um, the one that we're looking, right? The holy grail, in terms of competitions and the importance of it. This is right up there. So we need the 3 points tomorrow. We need them to give everything for just tomorrow, and then a lot of these guys can hopefully get a rest and put their feet up. So yeah, unchanged side, don't change a winning team. and we go again. So. I think yeah, I think it's important to to keep that momentum going by hook or by crook. We have to sort of get the result and win the game. And I just wanted to quickly say, in terms of when we're talking about performance versus result, obviously a lot is being said about our set piece um, prowess at the moment, and um, Brighton's manager Hersler, he made a sort of smart remark or comment in the press conference that he had. Sorry, um, with regards to our set pieces, and he said, in quotations, sometimes they spend they being Arsenal, sometimes they spend 1 minute to take a corner if they are leading. The main topic is to make a clear rule on how much time you can waste for a corner, for a throw in, or for a free kick. Um, I think no one recognizes it, but when Arsenal have a corner and they're leading, sometimes they spend over 1 minute just to take a corner. I mean, sounds a little bit like maybe one a little bit salty for whatever reason. Um, I'm not sure why. That again, that doesn't sound like the most positive of comments towards Arsenal. It's more of like a hey, like I'm letting the officials, maybe this is a cry to the officials to be aware on how long Arsenal are taking on corners, or um just to kind of cut that out of the game. Obviously he feels something needs to be done about that, and I get it to a certain extent. But yeah, he obviously wasn't happy about it. Um, I mean, he likely sorry experienced it last year when we came to their ground. I do remember we were playing Brighton last year at their ground, and I do remember particularly that game, or last season, I should say. It was last season. Yeah, we played Brighton at their ground, and I do remember us taking a particularly longer time on our set pieces, and I was even wondering, um, at that time, like, that's when I really started to notice how long we actually do take when it comes to our set piece routines and our corner kick routines, and it even bothered me at the time. So I think he's referring specifically to that game, because we were up 1-0 at the time and we were kind of procrastinating on our corner kicks and so on and so forth. Sometimes it's a bit over the top and too much for me, even. I do agree to a certain extent, but this one seemed like a little bit of a, you know, salty plea or cry for help to the officials to say, hey, crack down on these guys. So people are going to be looking and trying to do whatever they can to stop us or get an extra edge to, you know, um, cut that set piece prowess out of our game, right? Obviously, something that we're really good at. So I would love for us to score from a set piece again tomorrow, just to kind of shut him up a little bit. But hey, we'll talk about set pieces more at another time. But I just thought those were interesting comments from him, sort of calling us out on our corner kicks and our routines from set pieces. So again, we'll see if the referees now, that's a little bit of putting the officials under pressure to sort of manage that and do something about it. And let's see how we respond to it. So nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, big game tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Um, if you haven't done so already, please, as we always say, please do like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out. Um, and yeah, we will be there. Big game at Brighton's ground, the Amex. Hoping for the 3 points for the boys, and we keep it moving. So thanks again. This has been CJ from the Gunners Corner on our pre-match preview and predicted lineup. And we will see you for the post-match reaction and player ratings. All right. Thanks so much, y'all. Take care. Bye bye.